Hi there, this is Shauna from the Foiled Fox, and I'm here on Paper Tray Ink's YouTube channel, and we are sharing a Happy Spring card design. This one uses the Feather Friends 20. He is a wonderful rooster, has lots of wonderful detail parts to him. I'm going to also be using this nest. You've seen me use this just recently. This is from Hello Pumpkin, just the nest here, and of course the matching die set. And then I'm going to be using, this is Tin Stitch, a wonderful frame. Love this one of my very favorites. And then the skinny postage frames, I'm going to be using the large one here and actually cutting 2 of those. And this is a real throwback. This is from Playful Patterns. I just want that sun right there. And then this is from Paradise This Way. It is the signpost. You can certainly easily make your own signpost, but I was taking it easy. I'm going to cut out this signpost and use that for my sentiment. And then for my actual expression, I'm going to be using this. This is the Spring Greetings. Has so many great ones. I'm going to use Happy Spring for this. And then the last but not least is the Into the Blooms 2. I'm going to be just using this kind of daisy flower. And then for the papers, I have just a piece of black cardstock, an A2 white card base. I'm using some Bristol paper. This is going to be for my ink blending. And then I have some white card base. This is going to be for my frames and kind of the body of my card. And so to get started, I'm going to take the Tin Stitch and I'm going to cut out one of those. I'm going to cut out 2 of the skinny postage frames. And I'm going to set those aside. And now I'm going to take some Bristol paper and I'm going to cut out all these pieces that I need to cut out. This is the rooster. We're going to do some ink blending for all the rooster pieces. So we want to cut out all these pieces. The sun. We're going to cut out the nest. And we're going to cut out these flowers down at the end. We're going to sneak those in just right at the bottom. And then the signposts on the black. So that flower is going to end up right on there. And then next, I have all of the pieces now done for the rooster. I'm going to start out with his main body, and I've got some inks here. I'm going to list the different inks I'm using for the rooster, but I'm going to start out with some bright buttercup and then just blend it onto his head and his neck. There are actually 3 pieces to his head and neck. This is just the main one, the number 1, adding some little sort of summer sunrise and some pure poppy. And then I'm going to go for dark indigo for the balance of his body and his tail feathers. And you'll see why, because there's lots of pieces to him to add these wonderful layers and give him some nice detail. So once we have all of the blue on, I'm going to color his feet, the summer sunrise, but you know those... there is another piece that'll go over the top. This is the second piece of his head and neck. I'm going to take some Harvest Gold and put that on. And he does have, this covers also his comb, and these are his neck feathers, like I said. His head, and we're going to take some little bit of the Summer Sunrise and just add that in a little bit. And then of course we're going to add some pure poppy up on his comb and then maybe a little on his neck. So we'll add a little bit more to his comb, making it nice and red. And then we're going to go on to this mid feather. I'm using Harvest Gold for this. This is going to tuck right underneath his neck feathers. So I'm using a little Summer Sunrise. And then I think I'm going to put just a touch of the tropical teal because we're moving towards the back of him where we'll get to his tail feathers. Well, there's this one more wing here. Going to be using the dark indigo and the tropical gold, tropical teal for this. And these are his little feathers. There's 3 little feathers. I'm using the tropical teal for this. Going to get these nice and dark. And there's also a main piece to his tail feathers too. So you can see that set up there. But we're going to do his main piece, which is here, and we're using a little bit of dark indigo and mostly the tropical teal. Next, we're going to go back because there is one more piece to his head, and I'm putting that comb in, and this has the beak and his head there. I'm going to use the harvest gold. I always want to say forest. It is harvest gold, and I'm going to put that on there. Next, let's do the orange for his feet. And then I have his eye. There's 2 pieces to his eye. I'm making one black, his beak, the summer sunrise, and then leaving the little dot for his eye white. So let's put this together. We're going to use some glue here. Just put it together pretty much the way it is. I'm only adding a little bit of glue to the top of his head, not near the neck feathers, because I have to tuck some underneath there. Put the top of his head on there. Now let's do his eye and his beak. Once they get their eye and their beak, then, you're pretty much home free, because that's when he really gets his personality. This little dot for his eye. And now we'll do his feet. We have to pay really good attention to this rooster because he is our main character. Then we're going to tuck that feather right underneath and then tuck this one underneath that one, because his neck feather should cover over those feathers. If you've ever been around roosters or chickens, you will know that. And then we're putting his tail feathers together. And our rooster is all done. We're going to just do one more thing. I'm taking this is water that I'm just splattering on to give it kind of a mottled look. And now he's all done. I had cut a couple of little small eggs. This came from Elegant Eggs, but you can free cut them. Maybe you have an egg dye. Either way, or you can leave them out. I'm using spring rain and spring moss. I'm going to smush some spring moss and sprinkle that, splatter that onto my blue egg. And then for my spring moss, my green egg, I'm going to try this fresh snow, but it doesn't work very well. It's not bright enough. So I think I'm going to take out one of my trusty things, which is my bleed-proof white ink, which I love. Just splatter on some white splatters onto both the eggs for this. Going to set those aside to dry, and now go on to the flower. Going to be using bright buttercup for harvest gold and a little bit of summer sunrise. And then for the center, I'll be using the coconut bean and honey nut. So we're just squeezing that in there, that little honey nut and the brown, give a little bit of shading. Next, we're going to do the sun. This is where you really can see how the Bristol paper really helps with ink blending. Look at that, how that just zips on there, and much smoother. And I'm using Summer Sunrise on the outside and Bright Buttercup on the inside. And now I have just one more piece, and this is the nest. I'm using some more honey nut here. And then I'll go around the edges with cocoa bean, just to give it a little bit of shading. And then soon we're going to be done with all the pieces. We have just this signpost to finish. I've actually cut 2 of these. I sandwiched them together so that make it a little bit more stout. Put some anti-static powder on there. Have some Versamark ink, and I covered over spring and just stamped the happy. And next I'm going to cover over the happy and ink the spring. And now we're just going to white heat emboss this. And despite the fact that I use anti-static powder, I have the worst luck with that. And I still have to kind of touch it up with my brush, and then we'll heat emboss this. And now I want to have a little bit of distressed look on here. So I am using that fresh snow, and I'm just going to rub that on. And now I'm going to take also a white gel pen and add distressed lines. One thing that's great about embossing, as you know, is it resists any other ink, so I can just wipe that off right off the top if I need to. So now we have all our pieces together. Now you see I have this background. I did this ages ago. It is with brushed plaid. You don't need to use this because you see so little of it, but I wanted it in the background, and I like the little plaid pattern. It is colored with Bright Buttercup and Summer Sunrise. So I put that there. And you can see I cut out the center of this tin stitch. It does not cut that center out, but I just cut it out with my paper trimmer because I wanted that to show through. And then you will discover that I forgot to add something, but first we're going to add the frame. This is where I stack the 2 together. So now I have a little bit of thickness, and then we're going to put the whole thing right on top. And then, oops, I forgot my sun. So I got to squeeze that in. Luckily, I used glue, and I can just lift that up for a minute and kind of get an idea where I want that. Because, you know, the rooster is always up early in the morning when the sun is just starting to come out. I have the nest. I have some foam tape behind the flowers and the nest and the rooster. Getting kind of an idea. Just kind of arranging it there just to get an idea how I need to trim my my sun. So I'm just going to trim off these. Normally, I would just put it all in there and then trim it afterwards, but I was afraid I wouldn't be able to get all of this trimmed out properly. So I'm going to do it this way, and I stuck that down, and my glue is still a little damp, so I can use that. And you can see I snuck in the signpost there. So I'm just going to have that right in the background. I have our eggs we're tucking in, and then our rooster, which again, this has foam tape on it. And our card is all done. It has all of the saying. And isn't he cute? I just love him. The roosters and chickens and chicks are so adorable, especially at springtime. And you can make him any color. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please give us a thumbs up. And here are a few items we use. The Feather Friends 20, the Hello Pumpkin Stamp and Die Set, the Into the Blooms 2, the Border Bling, tin stitch, and of course there's many more. You can pop over to Paper Tray Inks blog and you can see more detail there, and you can always go to foilfox.com. We have every supply there, and plus a complete supply list. I want to thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye.